The orbital docks of the Celestial Accord were a symphony of light and industry, a testament to the unified power of 12 species. Massive vessels, sleek and formidable, glided through the pressurized bays, or hung in the silent embrace of construction cradles. At the heart of it all was the Unity, the fleet's flagship, a 5-kilometer-long marvel of integrated technology. It was here that Deacon Gray, human, found himself an unwelcome and largely ignored curiosity. He was a mechanic, nothing more. While Accord engineers manipulated gravity fields and calibrated particle beams with elegant control wands, Deacon's tools were physical, his hands often smudged with grime. He had been assigned to the Unity as part of a cultural and technological exchange, a token gesture. The Accord believed humanity's value lay in their robust, if reckless spirit, not in their quaint machinery. His supervisor, a tall, poised engineer named Kalen, viewed him with polite tolerance. "The systems are perfect," Kalen said, not for the first time, as they walked a gantry overlooking the main reactor housing. "Every component is manufactured to a tolerance your people have not yet dreamed of. There is nothing to fix, Mr. Gray, only to maintain." Deacon nodded, his eyes not on the shimmering reactor core, but on the maze of conduit and support struts surrounding it. "I understand, but perfection can still have inefficient pathways." Kellen's brow ridge lifted slightly, a sign of mild amusement. "The pathways are optimized by the finest minds in the Accord. They cannot be improved." The phrase became a mantra. When Deacon suggested a recalibration of the ventral plasma injectors to reduce their cyclical power drain, the response was, "They cannot be improved." When he pointed out a harmonic vibration in the port-side gravity stabilizers that would cause stress fractures in a decade, he was told, "The system is perfect." "You cannot fix our fleet, Mr. Gray." Deacon stopped suggesting. He began observing. He spent his shifts in the lower decks, the utility spaces where the glorious whole of the Unity depended on humble, functional parts. He saw the elegant, single-point failure design of the heat exchangers. He noted how the primary data bus, for all its speed, had no redundant physical layer. It was a cathedral of engineering, breathtaking and beautiful, but with no room for error, no space for the rough, adaptive solutions humanity had clawed from necessity. Weeks turned to months. Deacon became a ghost, familiar only to the low-level maintenance drones. He used his neglected authorization to access non-critical systems, studying their architecture. He began to understand the Accord philosophy, a quest for pure, unobscured efficiency. It was brilliant, and it was fragile. The change came during a routine fleet exercise near the gaseous periphery of the system. Deacon was in a maintenance crawlspace when the alarm klaxon sounded, not the drill signal, but the sharp, urgent pulse of a real alert. The Unity shuddered, not from weapon fire, but from a massive internal surge. Lights flickered. Gravity plates stuttered for a disorienting second. On the bridge, Captain Vorlin, a stoic being of crystalline flesh, watched his displays flash with warnings. "Report." Kalen, his hands flying over his panel, sounded baffled. "A cascading failure in the primary power distribution network. It originated in Sector 7. Backup systems are not engaging correctly. We have lost primary propulsion and shields. Life support is on tertiary. The cause? Unknown." The network was perfect. From the engineering substation, a frantic voice called, "We have a containment leak in the port auxiliary reactor. It is minor, but without primary cooling, it will escalate. The automatic interlocks have failed." A cold silence settled on the bridge. The elegant, perfect systems were folding one after another like a house of cards. Their sister ships, the Harmony and the Resolution, reported similar, though less severe, malfunctions. They were dead in the void, slowly bleeding systems. Vorlin closed his inner eyelids, a sign of deep focus. Options. Kalen was silent. The manuals contained no procedures for this. The systems were designed not to fail Dot in the crawl space. Deacon listened to the panicked comms traffic on an open channel. He felt the wrongness in the ship's vibration through the deck plates. He knew what it was. A single microscopic flaw in a main bus capacitor, coupled with the harmonic from the stabilizers he'd noted, had created a resonant feedback pulse. It was racing through the network, burning out nodes that had no isolation protocols, because isolation was deemed inefficient. He scrambled out and ran, not to the main engineering room, but deeper down, to a junction room few ever visited. It was hot, filled with the hum of dying machinery. He slapped the manual release on a maintenance locker. Inside, next to the Accord's gleaming tools, was his own kit, a rugged, simple case. He opened it. On the bridge, Vorlin received the report. The leak is growing. We must evacuate Sector 7 through 12. That includes main engineering. Captain, Kalen said, his voice strained. Without engineering, we cannot possibly stop the cascade. We will lose the core in less than an hour. It was then that a new voice, calm and slightly rough, came over the engineering channel. Bridge, this is Deacon Gray in Junction 9. I can stabilize the leak and reroute primary power. I need a team with cutting torches and control of the internal bulkhead doors. The silence was absolute. Then Kalen said, Gray? The human? That is a non-critical junction. What can you possibly do? The systems are compromised. Deacon's voice came back, firmer. The systems are broken, and you can't fix them with the manual. I can, but I need those torches, now. Vorlin made a decision born of desperation. Give him what he asks. Kalen, go with the team. When Kalen arrived in Junction 9, he saw chaos through his eyes, but purpose through Deacon's. The human had already opened several service panels, revealing a nest of smoking components. He had bypassed a burned-out relay with a piece of wire from his kit. He was directing two confused crew members to weld a section of spare conduit to a leaking pipe. What are you doing? Kalen demanded. That conduit is not rated for reactor coolant. It is now, Deacon said, not looking up. He connected a small, rugged device from his kit to a data port. This is a pattern breaker. It's going to send a chaotic shutdown signal to the cascade, confuse it long enough to isolate the damaged sectors. Your network doesn't have a circuit breaker, so I'm making one. You will cause more damage. Less than a core breach. Now, get me control of bulkheads 7 through 10. I'm going to seal the leak zone and create a new power pathway around it. Kalen, against every instinct, complied. He watched, awestruck and horrified, as Deacon worked. He used physical overrides where digital ones had failed. He patched systems with components never meant to interface. He treated the magnificent Unity not as a perfect, untouchable entity, but as a wounded beast, and he was stitching it back together with grit and intuition. On the bridge, lights stopped flickering. The alarming drone of the core breach warning ceased. Gravity steadied. Report, Vorlin said. A bewildered engineering officer responded. The cascade has stopped. The leak is contained. Primary power is rerouted. It is an unorthodox configuration, but it is stable. Life support and basic thrust are restored. An hour later, Deacon, his hands burned and his coveralls stained, stood with Kalen before Captain Vorlin. The bridge crew watched the human with new eyes. Explain, Vorlin said, his crystalline form reflecting the now steady console lights. Deacon took a breath. Your systems are perfect, sir. But perfect things break perfectly. Everything is connected for maximum efficiency. When one part fails, it doesn't know how to fail alone. It takes everything with it. He gestured to the view screen, where the other ships were still struggling. You built a fleet without a single spare tire, without a single emergency exit that isn't also the main door. Kalen spoke, his voice soft with revelation. You used brute force solutions, physical patches. You ignored the core programming. I treated the symptoms to buy time, then rerouted around the disease, Deacon corrected. Your design has no around. It only has through. Sometimes you can't go through. You have to go under or over or just smash a new hole. Vorlin was silent for a long moment. And the other ships? Can you help them? Deacon looked at his simple toolkit. I can try, but you'll have to let your engineers get their hands dirty. They'll have to stop believing in perfect and start believing in functional. Kalen looked at his own clean, elegant hands, then at Deacon's burned and capable ones. He nodded, not to his captain, but to the human. Show us. In the days that followed, a quiet revolution occurred in the docks. Accord engineers, under Deacon's guidance, installed manual cutoff switches. They ran redundant physical data cables alongside the main bus. They learned to weld a patch, to jury-rig a solution, to see a system not as an inviolate masterpiece, but as a collection of parts that could and would fail. The fleet was not fixed in the Accord sense. It was made resilient. It was made robust. It was made in some small human way, prepared for the inevitable imperfections of reality. Deacon Gray never heard the phrase, "You cannot fix our fleet," again. Instead, he often heard a new question, asked by engineers who had learned to value a little healthy imperfection. The question was simple. It was, how would you do it?